Please take your seats. All right, welcome to this evening's meeting. Appreciate everybody's being here. We're going to have a moment of silent prayer that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please stand with me. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. All right, before we start the meeting, we need a whole roll call. Commissioner Sana Gregory.
I am here, sir.
Commissioner Gail Hambrick.
Here.
Commissioner Felicia Franklin Warner.
Present.
Commissioner DeMont Davis.
Present.
Madam Clerk, everyone's present and accounted for.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the December 1st, 2020 Clayton County Regular Board of Commissioners meeting. Tonight, as Clayton County celebrates 162 years. That's right, 162 years, Clayton County, Georgia. Our first order of business is adoption of the agenda. Do any commissioners have any amendments?
Yes, I'd like to remove from the agenda item number 5, Human Resources Civil Service Administrative Assistant. They are looking at the numbers on it and requested that it be removed and placed at our next meeting. So that's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Any others?
I'd like to remove, well, not remove, but take separate item number 11 for discussion.
Item 11 is Resolution 2020-234, authorizing Clayton County to issue funds from the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act to aid citizens in dispossessory proceedings in Clayton County. I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? All right, it's unanimous. And again, that's just to remove it from the consent agenda to place it on the regular agenda. Any others? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved second. Any questions though? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Our first order of business is the presentations, which is the Veteran of the Month.
All right, this month we are going to recognize and celebrate Sergeant Charles Cooper. Charles Cooper entered the U.S. Army at Fort Jackson in South Carolina in July of 1964, where he completed basic training and clerical typing school training. Upon leaving Fort Jackson, Mr. Cooper was assigned to Fort Campbell in Kentucky and later assigned to the 25th Base Post Office in Stuttgart, Germany, where he served as an Army postal clerk. In November of 1967, at the age of 22, he was promoted to the rank of Staff Sergeant E6. In May of 1968, Sergeant Cooper became PCS to the 305th Army Postal Unit at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where he served as a postal inspector. On August 31st, 1968, Sergeant Cooper was given a special duty assignment with the Criminal Investigations Division office, where he served as an administrative assistant, handling administrative issues that required corrective actions. Retired Sergeant Cooper attended the CID basic course at Fort Gordon in from May through June of 1970. Sergeant Cooper received his accreditation upon returning to Fort Bragg in November of 1970. In January of 1971, he was assigned to Camp Red Cloud with duties at Camp Howes in South Korea. He was reassigned to Fort Bragg in January of 1972 and worked on the drug team prior to an assignment to the crime of violence team, where he worked as a latent print examiner trainee at the U.S. Army Crime Laboratory in Fort Gordon, Georgia. In January of 1974, Sergeant Cooper was promoted to the rank of warrant officer. Upon completion of the 2-year residency course, he was certified by the U.S. Army and was awarded the MOS of 951 AO Latent Print Examiner in December of 1977. In April 1979, Sergeant Cooper was assigned to USACIL Europe as the Latent Print Division Chief. In June of 1983, he returned to USACIL CONCUS. It's a lot of acronyms, don't know exactly what that stands for though, to assist in moving the laboratory to Fort Gillem, Georgia. Sergeant Cooper retired from the U.S. Army Crime Lab on August 1st of 1984. From June 1985 through November of 1994, Sergeant Cooper served as a security and safety investigator, Defense Commissary Agency, Fort Gillem, Georgia. November of 1994, Sergeant Cooper served as an Assistant Inspector General, Defense Commissary Agency in Fort Lee, Virginia, and maintained this position until he retired in September of 2005. Retired Sergeant Cooper has received numerous certifications and awards for his work with the Criminal Investigation Division, which includes being awarded the Meritorious Service Medal in August of 1984 by the Department of the Army for latent print casework on sensitive and difficult cases and for providing superb expert testimony, as well as providing excellent training throughout Europe and the United States. Please help me recognize and acknowledge retired Sergeant Cooper. Of course, Mr. Cooper could not be with us this evening, but we congratulate you, and hopefully you are watching. Your service is appreciated, and we thank you for all that you do in our community. Madam Clerk.
Next, we will have our MULTIPURPOSE Q4 jurisdictional briefing.
All right, we will have our briefing virtual at this time by CEO, the General Manager, Mr. Jeffrey Parker. How you doing, Mr. Parker?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Good to see you, Chairman Turner, and good to see the fellow members of the Clayton County Commission. Good to be here virtually. Appreciate you indulging me and allowing me to do this virtually. I'd like to recognize and thank several of the board members for their support, in particular Chairwoman Frida Hartage, as well as Clayton County board members Roberta Abdul Salam and Jerry Griffin for their participation in tonight's event. Next slide, please. Have a good presentation that I'll move through quickly, and then turn it back to you and entertain any questions that you have. We're going to provide an update on our MARTA 2020-40 plan, a review of where we are with our essential bus service update, a little bit of information about a pretty significant project that we're undertaking, our track renovation project, as well as a brief discussion about the federal outlook in light of the change in leadership at the president's level. Next slide. We'll like to provide an update on several of the activities that we're undertaking here in Clayton County. Next slide. Since we last met, several MARTA staff members undertook a pretty significant event, a roadshow held in late September. We had great participation with over 400 participants online. We wanted to make sure that we were connecting with with the citizens of Clayton County, your constituents, making sure that they have up-to-date information of our vision for transit in Clayton County, particularly all of the MARTA 2040 projects, an update on how COVID-19 is affecting our service, showing them, the ones who have not been able to see it, what our transit hub looks like at the Justice Center, as well as a sense of what future transit hubs in your community would look like. Talking about our efforts to expand bus shelters and amenities, as well as the multi-purpose facility and the overall Clayton County transit plan that we continue to work to implement. Next slide. As you know, the county, along with MARTA, laid out a 30-year vision of what improvements should look like. Many of these improvements are embedded into the agreement, both 14th and 15th Amendment, and we're working hard to implement them. Here in the county, we've created a prioritized project list to enhance mobility for citizens in the county, but also equally important, moving people from outside of the county into jobs here in Clayton County is an important part of the mobility in this county. We've phased these with short, medium, and long-term improvements. We have efforts around our redesigned and improved transit network, in particular, advancing east-west connectivity in the county so we can make people traveling throughout the county better, and making sure that people had a clear understanding of these elements, the hubs, the arterial rapid transit, bus rapid transit, commuter rail, and what the park and ride lots would look like. Next slide. We've completed completed the plan and laid out what phase 1 and phase 2 look like. As you're well aware of, several corridors, BRT and ART, the commuter rail capacity down State Route 54 that we've talked about. I'll talk a little bit more about that project in a moment. Pre-COVID-19, we have implemented several bus routes. We are prepared to implement 2 additional bus routes. Those have been delayed because of our essential bus route service, but we do plan on and stand ready to implement the 197 and 198 bus service as soon as we get closer to normal service and minimize the effects that we're having with COVID-19. We clearly recognize the importance of these 2 routes. One, to meet and I believe exceed the number of local bus routes that we've committed to running in the county, but also really a significant step forward in improving east-west connectivity. We've laid out and familiarized people with where the mobility centers are intended to be placed around the county. Next slide. This is click the slide one more time. It comes in. This is a sort of laying out what our existing service looks like. We presented to the group who participated, laying out what it looks like, how it's operating in the system. Advance the slide one more time. We showed the proposed service recommendations, our hubs, our improvements to the east-west connectivity, the higher capacity frequent service, changes in frequency of local bus service, and other improvements, and ultimately how these 2, while have very similar geographic reach and similar operating costs, but will enhance the reliability and the availability of people trying to travel in and out of the county for the important things that they need to, like jobs and school and accessing healthcare and the airport and things like that. Next slide. Another effort that we continue to undertake and is an important piece of making sure that we will be successful in landing federal funds to help defray the cost of these important investments. We're focusing on making sure that we're getting ready for improved land use to largely help with density around our transit stations. As we well know, transit needs to be a part of the economic engine that is created from people's improved mobility and provide more density around the stations where it's appropriate. We're working directly with the jurisdictions that you see, as well as unincorporated Clayton County, to assist in the development of policies, zoning, and model ordinance to ensure that transit supportive development can take place in the corridors that we are proposing to invest in. You see that the jurisdictions and unincorporated Clayton County that we're working with, and while this project is underway, we expect to wrap up this in early 2021, and this will all be done before we advance any a request for federal funds. And the FTA, particularly on the larger investment projects, will see this as a very positive investment in making sure that appropriate development can happen around the stations. They will see this as both that the transit agency and their grantee is working with the local and local municipalities and counties to make sure that there's a good shared vision of what what development should look like around those stations that are being invested in. Next slide, please. Just a little reminder of a great event, as well as an additional commitment that we want to lay forward. We have opened successfully, and many of you were there. The first transit hub at the Justice Center. We're even in the midst of COVID, we're seeing 800 daily riders there. And more importantly, we're working hard to make sure that we can install a breeze machine by the end of next year. We will continue to update that with you on, acquiring the actual machine from our supplier Cubic, as well as, installing the appropriate infrastructure so that machine can operate. Phase 2 is still planned to be open in 2023, but we do believe that a interim step of providing a breeze machine is an important piece of making using transit here in the county more accessible for everyone. In addition to that, and we'll have some more information about it later, we are about to launch a mobile payment system which will allow commuters who have access to a smartphone, which is many, although recognized it's not all, but many of our customers will have access to being able to buy their fare on their smartphone and actually not have to access the breeze machine to get a pass. Next slide. We continue to advance our Clayton County multi-purpose facility. I think I announced at the last jurisdictional briefing that we were successful in getting a $13 million grant from the federal government. We have finalized the concept for design. We've finalized our environmental analysis. We're in the middle of real estate acquisition. I know it feels like it's taking a long time to acquire this property. We do have to follow the federal process in order to be eligible for both the grant as well as using this other federal funds that we intend on using. Our plan is to have finalize our real estate acquisition sometime in 2021. We will continue to advance the design of the facility and on track to begin construction in 2023 and ultimately have our facility in operation in 2026. Next slide is talking about where we stand with our commuter rail. align. We do believe that we need to have a in-person meeting, both with the commission as well as representatives from each of the municipalities along the right-of-way. We want to sit down and have a real good discussion, have our consultant available and our planning staff to make sure that we all understand all of the impacts, the way that we believe that we can construct this through several stages in order to make sure that we have adequate funding throughout the timeline of implementing the project. Look at conceptual ideas around material structures and tunnel considerations that in some cases are required. We are confirming, I have personally reached out to the railroad to confirm that they are still requiring an exclusive track, which does expand the number of real estate takes, and we will be laying that out to each of the representatives from each of the municipalities so they can understand clearly the impacts to their communities. We want to go over some preliminary ridership numbers with everyone so we can see how this project will provide ridership, as well as how it will be competitive with other commuter rail and other projects that the FTA is considering sponsoring, and just have a honest conversation about where we are with this so that everyone's fully informed. So I would love to have this meeting as soon as possible. We intend on it. It does not seem like it's a rational thing to do to get so many people in person, and we do really believe that it's important to have a in-person meeting here to discuss this. Next slide. Essential bus service. You can advance to the next slide. We continue to have to operate our system, making sure that we have safe and sustainable service, particularly making sure that social distancing can be implemented on our service. So as I've spoken about before, we have invested and taken the buses that we're operating throughout the system pre-COVID, put them virtually doubling the number of buses on our existing, on the essential bus routes that we're running in order to have adequate capacity, because we're limiting the number of buses on there. We are constantly looking at the ridership of each of our routes and adding bus routes back when we can, when we're able to pull a few of those, double the number of buses on a bus route off and invest those buses and those operators on a new route. We've been able to add 10 bus routes from the original 40. December 5th, we have 2 routes, the 66 and the 180, that were slated to be restored. And we do also have, it's available on our itsmarta.com website under our COVID-19. We have shared with everyone a ranked list of restoring the bus service. We've laid out a process based on several factors, areas where we know low-income people who we know have a high reliance on our bus service live, looking at essential service, looking at what our ridership was pre-COVID-19, and also looking at where our customers or anyone, an elected official, is asking and giving us input to restore service. We've looked at all that and come up with a ranked list so that we're step by step adding buses back. We do believe that once we get through, and you know, we all wish we knew when we would be through these peaks of COVID-19. I do want to mention that we're probably about, in our region, about 3 times the number of cases that we were having when we first ran the essential service. That we're about 3 times that today. So Unfortunately, we're not out of the woods, as we all know, with COVID-19, and we've got to continue to have a safe service that we're operating. So next slide, please. Track renovation, phase 4. The reason I wanted to bring this information to Clayton County is because it is a huge, impactful project. Much of it is going on weekends and nights with fairly minor impacts to our customers. We have 48 miles of rail. We have an 8-year contract where we're replacing running rail fasteners, cross ties, and trying to restore some of the key track infrastructure to new condition. This is critically important to maintaining our state of good repair. We are customer focused, where we are making sure that our customers are well aware of the single track outages, where a trains going either north-south or east and west are both sharing the same track in a safe manner, trying to minimize those disruptions, letting our neighbors who live in the area where work sometimes is being done throughout the night or throughout the weekend are aware of it. And so that's the general impact that's going on over the next 8 years. Next slide. But we do have, and this is really why I want to bring this to you, we do have a significant outage that we have to implement. We call this the Canterbury double crossing. It's basically the point just north of Lindbergh Station, where trains either diverge to go to Lenox and Doraville, or Buckhead and up to North Springs. We will have a multi-day outage. Several of these days will be weekdays. We will have a significant bus shuttle to allow our customers who are riding the system to transfer to a bus and then back to the rail. We are also going to use our new MARTA Connect to give people a discount on Uber if they wish to continue their journey either completely or partially with our Uber partner to minimize impacts as well. So we'll have more information about this, but I just thought that the magnitude of this, it was important to share. Next slide. Before we get to the federal update, I do want to mention, I just a moment ago mentioned our MARTA Connects program, and we launched this on Election Day and had a great success in recognizing that our essential bus service may be having a, not providing the normal service that a customer has used in the past to go to their election site. We use this partnership to provide I believe it was $7, maybe $7 or $8 one way, so they got, be able to get to the poll and back from the poll on Uber with that discount. Went off really well. Super excited to continue to work with Uber around this, and we've decided that it seems like we should continue to do this for the election that will happen in January. So we'll be rolling out some more information about how that will work, but we will have a similar program as we did on Election Day. Speaking of Election Day, we did have a presidential election, and yes, we do have a new president. I'm certain that we all agree on that in this room. Next slide. And it's worth noting that the priorities of incoming Biden administration will be different than the current president's priorities. We see that there's an emphasis on resiliency. We know that the incoming president is speaking about, and as vice president ran the ARA program in order to help facilitate economic recovery, and we do believe that there may be some great opportunities around that. We see a lot of support for some more COVID-19 relief directly to transit agencies that are desperately needed here at MARTA, but probably more so around the country. And we also do recognize that there's more and more talk about the return of earmarks. So I just want to share with you all, elected officials, that we are focused on this. We see this as a great opportunity to be able to access more federal funding, continue to work with our partners, congressional members and the partners to advance both the opportunities that MARTA and Clayton County can take advantage of. So we are focused on this, and it's something that's very, very important to all of us. So with that, I appreciate your time, and Chairman Turner, I will turn it back to you and see if anyone has any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parker, for your presentation. Are there any questions for Mr. Parker from any board member?
I do have one.
Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. I just want to know, we have what's the impact going to be with Morrow's decision on how to utilize MARTA in the future, as well as we do have some bus routes down the Highway 54 corridor into MARTA and to Morrow, and you talked about adding those lost bus routes back. Has there been any discussion about that? I've gotten several calls about that route.
Yeah, I was having a little bit of trouble hearing you, so I think I got everything you said. If I'm not answering your question, please interrupt me. You know, we do recognize that that this essential bus route service is having a huge impact on our people who have relied on us. We're in a position where we have to provide safe service. We've made what I think is the only rational decision that we could make, and double up our bus service so that people who are simply, standing waiting for a bus can rely on that they can safely get on that bus and social distancing. The first thing that we're doing is we are every week, our planning and operations team, really led by our Chief of Bus Operations, Collie Greenwood, are looking at what the ridership trends are on all of our bus routes, and we're pulling buses out so that we don't have service that is not being used, and trying to do that. We're trying to be transparent with our plan of how we're putting those buses back. We are considering a plan to do things like, when we get to a point with COVID-19 where we don't have as high of a rate of infection, possibly allowing more riders on a bus, and that would allow us to take even more buses off. We are looking at some options that we will be implementing in November with some off-peak ridership on some of the bus routes, so that we can get a little more span of control. But I have to be honest, it's a difficult situation that we're dealing with, and we recognize the impact that we're having to our customers on these bus routes that we've had to end just because we have limited resources in terms of buses and operators to operate.
Any other questions?
Can you hear me?
Commissioner
Yes.
Warren?
All right, that's much a question yet. But I do need to bring to your attention, I sent over some time ago a couple of concerns about consistency of wearing masks. And I'm sure that's just something we all have to, work through. I'll admit I ran out the car just now without mine. I had to get one and put it on. But I felt it was worth just making you aware, because the citizens are bringing it to us as a concern.
Yeah.
The other thing is, thank you again for the hub. I'm looking forward to getting the rest of that completed over at the Justice Center. I've heard a lot of great response about having that there. But the question I have for you may be more rhetorical, and we have to work through it collectively. But you mentioned about the land use and working with the government. And, oftentimes we will work with government. But how are we tracking to really see that work that's being put in is actually making it all the way to the level of decision making? Because I know this has been a conversation, not just in Clayton County, but among the 13 counties. So I think that's the little piece that we got to all figure out And I don't know if you have
Absolutely.
something you'd like to lend to it. You know, how do we measure that that work is actually getting to where it needs to get to so that we can see the development we need to see to have our transit continue to be built out?
Yeah, I think one of the frustrating things with big infrastructure projects is whether we like it or not, they take a long time, and so the fruits of that labor extend out, years sometimes, and sometimes, extend out beyond political terms and things like that. So you see a lot of opportunities that unfortunately that elected official who sometimes stuck their head up beyond what people normally do to make some difficult decisions, wasn't there for that groundbreaking or that opening of a corridor. But I think, people like myself have to push hard, have to advance projects, get folks aligned, and I think that, being transparent about where we are with projects and how we can advance them and what are our obstacles, and just, being honest about those things is what we have to do. So.
Thank you.
Can I just mention something about the mask? Please share with myself or any of our team members about complaints you're hearing about the mask. But one thing that something to pass on is that every bus should have masks available on them. We have a holder installed on all the buses. We have a distribution system. I ride the bus just about every day. I don't see masks on every bus. Sometimes the operators have put them in a spot that don't make them as easily accessible to the bus operator. And when I ask a bus operator about it, they'll say, well, what happens is someone comes in and takes 10 of them. And my response is, I really don't care. Let them take 20 of them, but I want one to be there for that next person who comes on, like yourself, who happened to forget it that day. And so just a polite asking the operator, are there masks available on the bus, would go a long way. And if they say I don't have them, let someone know, or even the reality is they can call our bus control center and we will, as quickly as possible, get a supervisor out there so there'll be a fresh, brand new box of buses. It's something that I think that's probably the most important thing that MARTA can do today, is to make masks available on our buses and in our rail stations. I think everything else, even the big things that we're doing at this point in time today, comes secondary to that one action. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? All right, well, thank you again, Mr. Parker, for your quarterly report. It was definitely informative and enlightening. So we'll look forward to the next one. Until then, be safe and God bless. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
The board will now hear public comments for a total of 30 minutes. Citizens will be given 3 minutes maximum time limit to speak before the Board of Commissioners. Please state your name and county of residency for the record. Speak clearly into the microphone, and speakers should be courteous, respectful, and not make any disparagatory or remarks or use abusive language when addressing the board.
Stephanie Anderson, and we are picking up where we left off last time.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Stephanie Anderson. I'm the mother of Imara Carmache, who was killed on Felder Road December 21st of 2019. I was here for the last commissioners meeting, but unable to speak due to time constraints, so I am here again today to support the Felder Road project. On Felder Road between Highway 42 and Mount Zion Road, which is a 2-mile stretch, there has been 290 accidents, 86 injuries, and 3 deaths in 3 years. That's an average of 96 accidents per year. In 2020, we are already on track to exceed this amount, even during a pandemic shutdown. In 10 months, from January 1st of 2020 to October 30th, there's been 67 accidents on Felder Road in that 2-mile stretch. We have seen changes, and we would like to say thank you to the following people. For the one permanent solar radar sign that was placed on Felder Road, we want to say thank you to Chief Operating Officer Dietrich Stanford, Director of Transportation and Development Jeff Matarco, Chief of Police Kevin Roberts, and Sector 1 Captain Hill. The radar sign became operational on October 1st and shows that the average speed for a driver is 50 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone. This sign does work. Myself and Ms. Howard have sat on Felder Road and watched people slow down as they approach the sign. We also receive phone calls from friends and family telling us the same. I would also like to say thank you to you, Commissioner Davis, for taking the time to drive down Felder Road with me and to go over Felder Road and see what changes could be made for both of our districts. So thank you for your time and your effort. And Chairman Turner, we would like to say thank you for personally meeting with myself and Ms. Howard to talk about the different changes that could possibly be made. And as you know, we do have a follow-up meeting this Thursday. Keep that in mind. And we're really looking forward to seeing you. So thank you, Chairman Turner, for your time and diligence in this matter. And thank you to all the officers, because we have also noticed that there is a police presence on Felder Road, which has given us even more insight. Just from November 18th to November 20th, for just 3 days, there have been 66 speeding tickets written in a 1 mile stretch from Highway 42 to Preston Drive. 66 tickets in 3 days. So clearly there is a problem on Felder Road. My district manager, my District 1 Commissioner, Sonia Singleton Gregory, we want to hear from you. I reached out to you first, and I have not heard anything. You're an elected official, and we want your support. I have lived in your district for 16 years, and these accidents are happening in your district. So please help us. I've told you guys, we're not going away.
I'm sorry, your time is up, ma'am.
Oh, Mr. Turner.
You didn't practice. You didn't practice your third 3-minute speech, but your time is up. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Anyway, I want to say thank you to all my friends and family for your support.
Okay. Also, let me say, I had spoken with Commissioner Gregory before we met, and she couldn't make that one, but she's all for trying to. We discussed. I called her before and afterwards, and we discussed what's going on there. And trust me, she's totally behind this effort because I'm not going to move without her.
Okay, well, I reached out to her back in March.
And I talked to you. I've talked to several people on Felder Road, and they also talked to my assistant, Lavana, and we actually were the ones that contacted Mr. Matarco and Captain Hill. They are the experts in this. And so yes, we've been but just working behind the scenes and letting our professionals who are skilled at what they do handle this situation. And that's what Mr. Matarco and Captain Hill and Chief Roberts, we were the ones that put them in touch. There were 2 people I talked to because one lady said we have met before. I think you knew a friend of mine, Renee, and so forth. I don't know which one it was, but yeah, so yes, I've been in the game since day one.
That was me, and that was through an email. That wasn't a phone conversation. That was me emailing you, telling you that we both knew Renee.
Okay, right, and you did, again, but it was communication, and I've been in contact with my assistant, and I know she talked or emailed with you. And so, again, we've been in contact.
I haven't spoken
I have
to
not
you.
been right there, and I don't want to get into a lot of specifics and so forth, but trust me, as Commissioner Davis said, I've been there, but circumstances do not allow me right now to just get out and ride with you and so forth.
No, but we can Zoom. We can do Zoom.
I know, and I'm asking now, what is it that you would like? Well, you can contact me. What is it? I don't know what you would like for me to do.
Okay, because
again,
we've
we
met
put you in
with,
contact
we've
with
met
those
with
people.
Roberts and Hill, Turner and Davis. We've met with everybody but you.
And ma'am, yeah, so we're not gonna,
Right,
prolong
right.
the hour, but just to go back, yes, Zoom or whatever, she can try to set something up with you.
Definitely.
But also at the same, time, she knew about the meeting that we set up to talk also. So she
Okay.
had interjected some, additional information that she wanted, that we discussed while we were in the meeting.
Well, I would love to hear what that is.
We will talk
And I
again.
talked to the
very soon.
COO again.
Thursday.
We've all been talking about this, and sometimes when too many hands are in the pot, and once you got in touch with the chairman, and the chairman was handling things, and so I said, okay, we'll let the chairman meet with you.
So,
Okay, but
thank you,
that's
ma'am. We'll be in
I
touch.
contacted you in March.
Keith Parker.
Keith Parker, unincorporated Clayton County. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. I have just a small concern, as it may relate to any and all of us, and this is our COVID-19 protocol for specifically Clayton County. I personally reached out at the beginning of the pandemic to our professional who we have on staff, I believe, as an epidemiologist with our fire department. After a communications with her, she responded back to me telling me more about her personal self than the actual consistency of a plan for our county. So based on that, I waited patiently, and we're at now the end of the administration that she told me that she was basically waiting and following. And as we see thus far, that the present administration has their challenges. How about that? Is that nice enough? Present administration has the challenges. So what I want to do is try to figure out where are we going moving forward. I heard Mr. Parker talking earlier about the COVID-19 challenges and how we are to establish ourselves in a pathway to recovery. And I'd like to hear more from our epidemiologists, which may or may not be able to share some light on our way through this. And I'll rest at that.
Let me just add that we follow at the county the guidelines set forth through the Department of Public Health as well as the CDC. We've also established our own ordinance. We have a mass ordinance, but again, that's only as good as, you know, the unincorporated areas of Clayton County. I believe some of the cities has adopted a mass ordinance as well, but we are collaborating in that space in terms between the county and the cities to make sure there is some continuity between city line and county line to make sure that we're protecting all the citizens. But at the end of the day, it's really incumbent, and we really got to really stress and push the message that every citizen is responsible for his and herself to make sure that they are exercising as extreme caution and safety to keep themselves and their families safe. But we are, in reference to your request to hear from Dr. Reddy, yes. Dr. Reddy, that's something that can be done. You can sit down with her when she's available, and she can make time to sit down and explain to you from her perspective what the Department of Emergency Management for the county is doing in conjunction with the Department of Public Health.
Would you be nice enough to help me facilitate that meeting?
Not a problem.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Mickey Garber.
May I remove my mask, sir?
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, Mickey Garber, unincorporated, Rex, Georgia. Due to last-minute information received and not to unduly embarrass anybody, Chairman Turner, Commissioners, I respectfully yield the podium to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Howard.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Before I start my 3 minutes, I just want to put out there, I do not want to be interrupted if you have feedback or comments because it's not fair to the people public speaking. I would like to take the time to thank everyone in the community that has come together to bring the recognition that Fill the Road project needs to make it a better driving community. To the Clayton County officials that have taken the time to simply communicate with myself and the other community members in regards to the Fill the Road project and help to guide and aid in creating a safer driving experience for all that travel this path. Thank you. I would like to say to Commissioner Singleton Gregory that I am truly disappointed in your response and lack of initiation to gather the proper information about this project. I have had one email exchange with you personally, and even since I spoke 2 weeks ago, nothing directly from you, and it's your district. I personally have spoken and met with other commissioners in regards to your district mishaps, particularly on Fill the Road, when you're the one the community has elected and selected for this area in the district. Remember the names and all the facts that we present. Cadero, Imara, the Fill the Road victims and what their lives represent. The Fill the Road project is for all of our own good, and we will not back down nor stop until this is understood. We need major change for a positive, permanent gain. Now, Clayton County officials, let's not let Cadero, Imara, and the other Fill the Road victims' names die in vain. Hashtag, onward together, let's save these lives. Good?
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have to say something.
Ms. Howard.
For the people of the Fill the Road, if you are really, in February, January this year, I had a recurrence of cancer. Very, very strong. Very, very bad. I thank God today I got great news. You see my head, chemo. I got great news today. So if you are, so sometimes, when you come up and you blame people and you don't really understand, I pass this on to people who could help you because at the time I couldn't. And it's part of a testimony, so I'm just gonna tell it. Yes, it's been tough these past 8 months, but that's what I was dealing with. Even now, I cannot come out and go with you hand in hand to escort you up and down Fill the Road. But again, I thank God I got great news today. But since you all want to know, it's not that Sona doesn't care. And to show you how much I care about the people, just today, I arranged and paid myself for one of my constituents who needed a dryer, who was hanging out clothes in her house. Sona cares. And so it's not that I don't care, but there are times you got to understand we're not superhuman. And that's a situation I've been dealing with, a recurrence of cancer. And
Chairman, do you mind if I just respond to her quickly?
Just briefly.
Briefly. Commissioner Singleton Gregory, I am truly sorry to hear about that and what you've been experiencing this year. However, I don't want to dismiss that, but I feel like I have lost someone too. So for me to have gotten one email exchange, we both have been going through something for the last year, and I don't know how long your journey has been, but I would have appreciated to have more than one email exchange, and I have one. And I can tell you the date if you want me to pull it up, or we can set up an appointment for a later time. But I just want you to understand, it's not that I don't think you don't care, or that anyone doesn't think you don't care. It's just that I've had one email exchange, and I'm just speaking on facts today, and that's it. And that's it. If you do care going forward, we can set up something and make it happen.
yeah, but I cannot let this go without. I'll be glad to have a Zoom call. So whatever it is you would like for me to do, because you're dealing with the professionals, with Mr. Matarco and Chief Roberts and so forth and all that. But my journey has been going on since 2016. But again, the That's just it. And it's not like I ignored your email. As a matter of fact, the lady responded, and she was just so shocked that I responded so quick. But I immediately referred the concern to my assistant and the people who could help. But I know that's not going to satisfy the people now. And I understand it's a very sensitive situation. You're hurting. And and I hurt with you. And my assistant and I talked about this. Nothing I say tonight is going to satisfy you, but I'll be glad to set up a Zoom call for whatever it is you feel that I can help you to do.
Well, onward together, like I said in my speech.
All right.
I don't want to take up all the time, but
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk, that concludes public comment.
The board will now entertain the consent agenda items 1 through 4, 6 through 10, item 12 and 14.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll
second it.
Commissioner Gregory second the motion. Any questions on any other items? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next item is item number 11, Resolution 2020-2034, resolution authorizing Clayton County to issue funds from the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security. And I'm going to stop there because I know you're going to read the same thing.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Board. Resolution 2020-234, which is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to issue funds from the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act to aid citizens in dispossessory proceedings in Clayton County Magistrate Court during the public health emergency known as coronavirus disease, to authorize the chairman to execute any documents, and to otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense relating thereto, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes.
All right, is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Probably moved to second. Are there any questions?
I do have one. I'm glad to see this come forth for our citizens here in Clayton County, especially in this time. What is the funding amount for this?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, it's $1 million that the Board of Commissioners have set aside for the purpose of helping renters and landlords who are in danger of being dispossessory of their homes and apartments. So this money will help, and also is in conjunction with the court system to make sure that those people who are facing evictions are able to get some money on the front end so we can pay them to keep from getting evicted. But at the same time, it will also lessen the backlog of dispossessions that are currently waiting to go through the court system. So the court system and the VOC we're working together to make sure that we are actually taking care of our citizens as best as we can.
Great.
But we all know that, this money only goes so far. So as we have an opportunity to help our citizens, that's exactly what this board intends on doing. But at some point in time, there has to be a plan B for the citizens to make sure that they are getting their affairs in order so it doesn't come to this again. But we are truly in hard times, and we are cognizant of that, we the board, and we're actually in a position to do something about it. So that's what this is about. And
Right.
I commend my board members as well as the court system and the others who worked on this to make sure that we are doing something for our citizens.
Are these the funds that are going to be administered like through House of Dawn and some of the other nonprofits, or is this something different?
This is issued through, it's the community development. Is that not correct?
From the resolution, it appears that there's going to be a mechanism set up between the magistrate court and the county to make sure
That's right.
that that once there's been some sort of order or something that's there, it's just not going to be haphazardly sent out. It's going to be in conjunction with the courts to make sure that there is an actual need, an actual order, or actual
Assessment. Yeah, there's assessment that takes place, and then from my understanding, the money is going to not actually go to the renter, the citizen himself, him or herself, button to the landlord or to the responsible party who they owe.
Okay.
And,
Well-
and also, I believe the finance department is going to distribute the actual checks to the landlord. So it's not going to go through a nonprofit, but through the county.
I have a question real quick.
Commissioner Warner.
And maybe it's more of a follow-up, but first, before I make, put out the question, I want to commend the staff for doing what they did. I actually sat on the call with 2 of the meetings just to hear and have a level of understanding of how this was going to be done. And I will tell you that the staff meticulously worked with a lot of various folks that would be involved in making this happen. Also, I'm glad to know that we're going to get the funds directly to the landlord themselves, because there's a couple things we have to keep in mind. Some of these landlords are also community members. I get the calls. There are folks who own that property, who live in our county, or may have family members that lived in the county. And so they too are at risk of losing the property because they're not receiving funds and they can't forward it on to whoever that lender is. That's one thing. The other thing though, with making sure that the money is going directly to the landlords, are we sure that our means of doing so is going to be one that is more than acceptable through accounting? The reason I ask this is because I've quite often been told as commissioner that we don't have a means of passing funds directly to individuals unless it passes through, i.e. Clayton Cares or whatever. But I do prefer the fact that it's going directly through the county, but I just want to know, have we worked that part out?
Well,
To
we have
make sure
CFO
that we
online.
can legally provide those funds directly from the county and don't have to pass through a qualified nonprofit.
We had CFO online, Ms. Bivens. Can you expound on that?
I think it would be a legal question though.
Well, she
'Cause I remember
can tell
from
you the
Jack Hancock
process.
telling me some time ago that our county don't have the means of providing funds to direct recipients unless it's a refund through the court. So I'm not sure, there's no mechanism for a refund. So we're giving money directly. So I just want to make sure that legally we've worked through that aspect of it.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Franklin Warner, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so, this is part of the money that's set aside is money that we receive from CARES, from the CARES funding. And those CARES funds can be used for that purpose. Now, in the guidelines that we received from the CARES, Act and all the numerous, Zoom videos that we had with ACCG, at no time did anyone say that we could not directly pay those landlords or help with assistance that way. Now, and I'm with you, Commissioner Warner, we can rely on, from the legal perspective, if Chuck wants to, I'm sorry, not Chuck. If our attorney would like to further opine on that, but to my knowledge and all the training and all of the information sessions that we sat through with the CARES Funding Act from ACCG and the state, that not at any time did they say that we had to go through a third-party entity like we do with the other grants.
So, and I want to clarify a little bit more, not to prolong the meeting, but I just want to make sure you all think about it. If you don't have an answer now, that's fine. We can follow up with an email. But regardless of what ACCG may say, we're talking about basically our codes and our ordinances here within our local jurisdiction. So I just want to make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's, because sometimes we'll find out like, uh-oh, we missed that. And this is something that we just need to make sure that we are sure to kind of look into a little bit further on the front end. But again, I don't want to prolong the meeting, but we can do a follow-up email or whatever.
Yeah, and just let me two things in reference to your comments, Commissioner Warner. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Reed and CFO, but each person or entity that receives a check has to be a registered vendor. So they have to go through central service to become a registered vendor, which allows us to give them a check. Second thing is this program was modeled, and I know you are meticulous about always want to do best practices, and we looked at the Gwinnett model of how they did this. So we emulated a lot of what they are doing in Gwinnett County to make sure that this program was something that would be allowable.
Right, I hear you. Thank you. And I was on that call and they talked about that. So it's good to see that we are relying on best practices.
All right. Anybody else?
Mr. Reed got off the hook. He didn't have to say anything.
He's
I
biting
can
at the
say
bit,
something,
though.
but
Well, if everybody's good,
and I'll
go ahead.
say, I will say this, that the fact that it is being aligned with the court system may put this in a different situation than just a general
Got it.
giving of money to some entity. So that would be where there would be a distinction, and so I don't want to necessarily go too much to
That's
read
perfect.
hypotheticals, but that would be one reason, one distinction.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Those in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, the next 15, 16, 17 items are board appointments.
I was about to say, did you have to put it like that? But you are absolutely correct. All right, so first board appointment is to the Behavior Health and Developmental Disabilities Region 3 Advisory Council. Currently, the person currently sitting in position is Ms. Jody Chambers, but due to term restrictions, she's not able to be reappointed. Her term expires on November 30th, 2020. And the new term will begin immediately and will expire on November 30th of 2023. This is Commissioner Hambrick's selection. Do you have a recommendation?
Yes, Chairman and Board, I would like to move this to next month.
All right, place this on next month, not next month or next board meeting.
No. The third, the board meeting on the
15th.
not the first meeting, the second regular board meeting.
Of this
I'm trying
month?
to get that date. I'm sorry.
Of this month?
No.
January.
January, yes.
Okay, I got you. All right, you clear, Madam Clerk?
January 2nd meeting.
Yes, second business meeting.
Second
Thank you.
of the month. Okay.
What's the 19th?
All right, next board appointment, Civil Service. Ms. Virginia Phillips Hall term will expire on December 31st, 2020. On the Civil Service Board, new term will begin December 31st, 2020, will expire December 31st, 2023. This is at large. Is there a recommendation?
This for, which one is this?
Yes,
Civil
Mr.
Service
Chairman and Board, I would like to reappoint Ms. Virginia Hall.
All right, is there a second?
Second that, Mr. Chair.
Properly moved in second. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointment is also to the Civil Service Board. Mr. Cephas Jackson, term will expire on December 31st, 2020 on the Civil Service Board. New term will begin December 31st, 2020 will expire December 31st, 2023. At-large appointment, any recommendations?
Yes, I move, we reappoint Mr. Cephas Jackson.
All right, is there a second? I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Next board appointments, elections and registration. This is Commissioner Warner's selection. Ms. Dorothy F. Hall, term will expire on the Board of Elections and Registration, December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, and will expire December 31st, 2024. Each board member's term shall run concurrent with the appointing commissioner's term of office. Commissioner Warner.
Yes, I first want to thank Ms. Dorothy Foster Hall for the great job she's done. And second, I would like to reappoint her to that board so that she can continue her level of service.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor, aye.
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 You
Opposed?
scared to be there. No, I was thinking, okay, wait a minute, we got January 5th coming up. Don't be changing folk out.
No, Miss Dorothy, I had to give her a compliment because she's really worked hard. These folks I have her worked hard.
All right, it's unanimous. All right, next board appointments, elections and registration. This is Chairman Turner's selection. Ms. Darlene Johnson, term on the Elections and Registration Board expires December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, expire December 31st, 2024. Again, this selection or this position is concurrent with the appointing commissioner's term of office. I'd like to reappoint Ms. Darlene Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointment is also to the Elections and Registration Board. Commissioner Hambrick's selection, Ms. Carol C. Wesley. Term will expire on the Board of Elections. Registration expires on December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, will expire December 31st, 2024. Ms. Hambrick.
Yes, Chairman and Board. Since we're giving kudos and all, I would like to give one for Ms. Wesley, who is serving as the chairperson of the Board of Elections and all. I would like to reappoint her for another term.
All
I'll
right.
second that.
Is there
Can I third that?
probably moved and second? Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. And before I move on, I'd like to say well done for my board selection. That was Darlene Johnson, who was also on there. Y'all making me look bad. Okay. Ms. Johnson doing a wonderful job.
I mean,
Thank
she
you.
honestly does. Ms. Johnson, she gets the word. Yeah.
All right, next board appointment is to MARTA. It's at large. Jerry Griffin term on MARTA will expire December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, and will expire December 31st, 2024. At large appointment. Any recommendations?
Is this for Miss Roberta Abdul-Salam?
This one's for Jerry Griffin.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I move we appoint Ms. Katie Powers.
I second.
All right,
Did you say Katie?
Katie Powers. P-O-W-E-R-S. Properly moved and second by Commissioner Warner. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointment is also to MARTA for Ms. Roberta Abdul-Salam. Term on MARTA expires December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, expire December 31st, 2024. At large appointment. Any recommendations?
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to double check that. I do recall and have here in notes that that term may be in question. So can we please hold this item until we're certain?
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to hold. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Davis. Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointments to Parks and Recreation is Commissioner Franklin Warner's selection. Carlos Benefield's term on the Parks and Recreation Board expires on December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, and will expire December 31st, 2024. Commissioner Warner.
There is nobody more passionate. I want to reappoint Mr. Carlos Benefield to this position.
Is there a second?
About that.
Second.
Probably moved and
And he
second
works
by
in the school
Commissioner
system
Hambrick.
too, Commissioner Gregory. You know those kids.
Gregory.
Hold on, everybody. Commissioner Hambrick, did you second that?
Yes, I did.
All right, properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointment is also to Parks and Recreation. It's a Chairman Turner selection. Ayanna Burke's term on the Parks expires on 12/31/2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, will expire December 31st, 2024. And I think she may be a little more passionate than yours, Commissioner Warner. So I'm going to ask that she be reappointed. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Properly moved and second by Commissioner Davis. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointments, also to Parks and Recreation, Commissioner Hambrick's selection. Ricky Lovelace's term on the Parks and Recreation Board expires December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, and will expire December 31st, 2024. Commissioner Hambrick.
Yes, Chairman and Board, and I think my person is double, triple kudos. Mr. Lovelace has brought on a lot of new things, new ideas and things that they've implemented with the Parks and Rec. So kudos for the entire board. I think they're very good. But Mr. Lovelace, I would like to reappoint Mr. Ricky Lovelace to the board, Parks and Recreation Board.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Warner. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, next board appointment, Solid Waste Management Board. It's Chairman Turner selection, Mary Ann Cart, term on the Solid Waste Management Authority will expire December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, and will expire December 31st, 2024. I would like to reappoint Ms. Mary Ann Carp to this board. She is a resident of Lovejoy and a current councilwoman with the city of Lovejoy. Is there a second?
Second.
Probably moved in second. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr.
Next-
Chair, before
yes.
you go to 27, I got a quick question.
Okay.
I thought Terry Baskin was automatically a member of the solid waste, or, I mean, the tax commissioner would
No, I
automatically.
think you're confusing that with the land bank board.
I'm sorry?
I think that is on the land bank. Is it this
He's
one?
on this board.
No. He's, okay, but he doesn't have a permanent seat on this board, does he?
Can we check that one
Yes, he
out?
does.
I think he does.
Yes. When I served on it, when I was vice chair, I believe he was.
Yeah,
remember?
he's automatic,
All right.
yeah.
Who wants to hold
Is
it?
that correct?
I don't know anything about him being automatic.
Do you intend on reappointing him?
But I can check it.
Who is this, Commissioner Franklin Warner? Do you intend on reappointing him? If so, we can go
In that
ahead.
capacity, but I think that we need to make sure he's on there automatically, because then we would not be following the proper protocol. If he's on there automatically, there's no reason to reappoint.
And I think he's automatically on that board.
So we need to get that
Okay, we'll
correct.
hold it until next time, until we can verify. Madam Clerk, you clear? All right, next board appointment is also solid waste management. This Commissioner Hambrick selection, Captain Sean McDonald, term on the Solid Waste Management Authority Board will expire December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, expire December 31st, 2024. Commissioner Hambrick.
Yes, Chairman and Board, I would like to reappoint Captain McDonald.
Second.
Who seconded the motion?
Commissioner.
Felicia Franklin Warner.
All right, probably moved in second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
One quick note, Mr. Chairman, please, and just to piggyback on what Commissioner Gregory just stated, and the fact that we're kind of reorganizing a lot of our boards with these appointments, I think we need to take a second look at this board and make sure that we've got everybody at the table that needs to be at the table as we continue to push to clean up our county. I just want us to kind of have that as one of our work sessions if possible.
I say that's every board.
And it doesn't change who we put on there now. I'm just, like we just had to appoint Captain McDonald. I think he should automatically be on that board, whoever's in that role.
But this one is one of those, isn't this one of those state mandated boards? I mean, isn't it?
Oh, okay. And I'm just saying, I want everybody to be at the table so we can get it done.
Right, I understand it, but I just think those that, we have to follow the state law.
Okay, let's,
I don't know.
duly noted. Let's move on. And just for the record, I'm looking at some information where Miss Roberta Abdul Salam's seat is up December 31st of 2022.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, and on that, on the board, solid waste board, some of those positions are state mandated, because I know the vice chair of the commission is an automatic.
Well, I don't know if that's state mandated as opposed to a
Well, it's
county ordinance.
mandated.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's move on.
Okay, do you want to hold McDonald until I check
Oh,
the
no.
board?
No,
that-
we
no,
approved
no.
it. We approved it.
Yeah,
He's good.
no.
Okay.
All right, next board appointment is Tax Assessors Board. This is at-large Ted Lawson term on the Tax Assessors Board will expire December 31st, 2020. The new term will begin December 31st, 2020, and will expire December 31st, 2023. At-large appointment. Any recommendations?
Yes, I've spoken to Mr. Lawson, and he has told me how excited he is to work on this board.
All right.
And I'd like to reappoint him.
All right, I'll
that
second the
position.
motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Nay.
4-1 with Commissioner Franklin Warner, no vote, yes. All right, next board appointments, Tourism Authority Boards, Chairman Turner, selection. Miyoshi Boje, term on the Tourism Authority Board will expire on December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, and will expire December 31st, 2024. And again, this is my appointment, so I will move to reappoint Ms. Bourget. Is there a second?
Second?
Probably moving second. Those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointments to the Tourism Authority Board. It's at-large. Tanya Clark term on the Tourism Authority Board will expire December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, will expire December 31st, 2024. Again, this is an at-large appointment. Or any recommendations?
Does she want to continue serving? Has anyone talked to Dr. Clark?
I have not been able to speak to her myself today. I don't know
Let's
if
hold
anybody
it and
else
see if
has.
she wants to continue serving.
All right,
I concur.
Madam Clerk, we'll hold that till next meeting.
Mr. Chair, real quick, kind of relevant to what Commissioner Franklin Warner was saying. And I know Ms. James has been working so hard on these boards and so forth, but perhaps you also can, Ms. James can also go back and let us know, like which of these boards are, required by, are state mandated and so forth, so that we will be in order with all of them. So that would help a lot too.
I agree with that, because that's one of the issues I'm running into with that, which board is that? With that behavioral health board.
Yeah.
I'm running into that too, because there are certain stipulations that, pertaining to that board, so.
Right.
The book that you,
We need a work
have,
session
it
on
already
it.
outlines
Refresh
that, right? Does the commissioners have the same book that we
I
have?
sent everybody a copy, but I will again.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, if I could, I know we got the book, and that's wonderful. And I thank you so much, Ms. James, because I know you worked with us with Rochelle, and we got a big, beautiful chart. But as commissioners, you all are looking at this every day, Mr. Chairman and Ms. James. But we are here as policymakers, and we're having to go to work too. So my point is, let's do a work session so that we can all be on the same page. Because even though we have the book, we've asked a couple questions tonight that people weren't sure of. It's just a matter of let's come together to get the work done. And I want to make a statement real quick about the last board that I voted against. The reason being is I want to reevaluate that board, because I don't know that we've got we're being represented from an equity standpoint throughout the county. It has nothing to do with the person. But when you only have 3 members on a board and you got 4 districts, somebody always gets left out. So I think that is a great opportunity for us not to assume, but let's have a work session and see how we can just, keep moving forward in a great manner.
Yeah, there's never any issue with having a work session to talk through things, so that's not definitely a problem or going to be a problem, but at the same time, the reference to the book was just to make sure that everybody knows that there is additional information at the top of each board that outlines that. So yeah, for the work session, we might want to review that again, and Ms. James, if you would, yes, please send that out again.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms.
Just to make
James.
sure that everybody has it.
I will.
Because even like with that board, let's say if that's I think that's one where it's 3, right? Isn't it state mandate that it is just 3 people? So we don't have anything to say about that, right?
Yeah, but even if it's a state mandate, my point is, if we don't have to stop there. There may be an opportunity we can explore. That's all I'm saying. I'll leave it at that. It don't hurt to update things sometimes. That's all.
All right, executive session.
Yes, on litigation and real estate. I also wanted to let you know that the Solid Waste Management Board does not require the tax commissioner.
I didn't think so.
It's just
No,
the.
it doesn't. I'm
it does
sorry.
not.
I didn't think so, but at any rate, we'll address it next time. There's nothing lost on it by adding to the next agenda. All right.
Can't we just go back and appoint him now? We're in session. Get it done.
If someone wanted to, you can make a motion to reconsider holding.
I want to make a motion to reconsider holding.
I'll second it.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's unanimous. So I ask you again,
And on that board.
27.
the board appointment for the solid waste
They
management.
made a motion the first time anyway, they just said hold it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Clerk just pointed out to us that the motion was never made, so I'm just gonna go back.
Whatever.
Yeah,
works
we
is
said
fine.
hold it. Okay, so, board appointment, solid waste management, Commissioner Warner's appointment.
Number
27. Terry
We don't-
Terry
We
Baskin,
don't
term.
reappoint Mr. Terry
Hold on a
Baskin.
second, ma'am. Terry Baskin, term on the Solid Waste Management Authority will expire December 31st, 2020. New term will begin December 31st, 2020, and will expire December 31st, 2024. Again, Commissioner Warner, go ahead.
Yes, I move to reappoint Mr. Terry Baskin.
Is there a second?
Second.
Probably moved in second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Now, before I take a motion to go into executive session, I just want to point out again that we have an election going on, a runoff election for Georgia Senate, January 5th. Very important election. It's important for us as citizens, not only in Clayton County, but throughout this whole state, exercise our right to vote. Do your research, know that there is an election, that it's imperative that you, your family, your household, everybody, your brothers, sisters, everybody get out and vote. So please, please exercise your right to vote. And that same token, I have to give kudos to our election staff again. To the election staff, the volunteers, the poll workers, Shauna Dozier and her staff did an excellent job on the recounts, whereas a lot of the other counties have had issues with their recounts. Our Department of Elections had no problems, got done ahead of time, and did it thoroughly, accurately, and transparently. So let's give them kudos and keep it moving. Motion to go into executive session for litigation and real estate. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
So moved.
Second?
Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Everybody have a good evening. All right, motion to
Let me show
reconvene.
y'all.
So moved.
I'll second the motion, commissioners. I'll
Oh, I
second the
can't move it.
motion. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Mr. Reed.
Mr. Chair, I have a request to approve the Fifth Amendment to the purchase and sale agreement between Highwoods Realty Limited Partnership and Clayton County, Georgia, in reference to the purchase and sale agreement dated September 5th, June 20th, 2017. And to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement, otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the motion, and to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget if necessary to accomplish anything that is required with this purchase and sale agreement.
All right, is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Probably moved and second by Commissioner Hambrick. Any questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Everybody have a good night. God bless.